There's a sentence older Americans need to say right now. It is this: I am over 65. What am I exempt from? Search your county name plus senior property tax exemption and ask about refunds for prior years too. 2026 is bringing real tax changes for seniors, and waiting can cost you money. Educational purposes only, not legal or financial advice. Senior Financial News 2026, IRS tax changes 2026, Social Security secrets, property tax freeze, retirement wealth protection, target state, senior exemptions, money saving tips for seniors, senior tax deduction 2026, retirement tax breaks, over 65 property tax exemption, homestead exemption, certificate of error, refund for prior years, tax relief for seniors, county tax savings, IRA limits 2026, 401k catch-up 2026, standard deduction 2026, senior money saving tips, retiree tax news. There is a sentence, 7 words long, that the county tax office is praying you never say. For some retirees, that one sentence is worth $2,400, $4,000, even $5,800 or more over a few years. That is not charity. That is not a handout. That is money the law may already protect for you. But the system counts on your silence. It counts on you being tired. It counts on you thinking, if nobody told me, I must not qualify. And while you stay quiet, they keep billing you like nothing changed. Before I give you the words, hit the like button. Not for me, but to fight the algorithm that tries to hide this from seniors. Every like is a signal to the system that we aren't staying quiet anymore. I want you to hear me on this. Every month you wait, the clock keeps moving, deadlines pass, tax years close, refund windows shrink, offices get harder to reach, records get older, and the people who already know the rules, they move fast. That is how the game works. The loud people ask, the quiet people pay. I do not want you to be the quiet one this time. A few streets over from me lived my neighbor Mary, sweet woman, widowed, lived in the same little house for almost 30 years. She clipped coupons, reused tea bags, kept the heat low in winter. She used to say she was being careful, but what nobody told her was that being careful is not enough when the system is built to keep quiet around the discounts, exemptions, and tax breaks that older people may already have earned. Mary paid her bill every year, right on time. No fuss, no questions. She trusted the notice that came in the mail. If the bill said pay, she paid. If the number went up, she just sighed and wrote the check. Then one day her daughter looked into it. One phone call, one search, one form. That was all it took to learn Mary may have qualified years earlier for senior relief tied to her home. The law never required her to pay it, but the county kept the check anyway. That line breaks my heart every time I say it. The law never required her to pay it, but the county kept the check anyway. Nobody kicked her door in. Nobody forced her hand. They did not have to. Silence did the work for them. Confusion did the work for them. Exhaustion did the work for them. And that is why I am making this for you today. Not to scare you, to wake you up before another bill gets paid that never should have been that high in the first place. Now, I need to say something important so we stay honest. The IRS and your county are not the same office. The IRS handles federal taxes. Your county or local tax office often handles property tax relief. But in 2026, both worlds matter. The IRS has real changes older taxpayers should know right now, and many local offices already have separate over 65 breaks people miss all the time. So this is not just one leak. It is 5 leaks at the federal level, plus one big local leak almost nobody asks about. The first big federal change is the new extra deduction for seniors. If you are 65 or older, the IRS says eligible taxpayers may claim an extra $6,000 deduction per person for tax years 2025 through 2028. If both spouses qualify, that can be $12,000 on a joint return. It begins to phase out above $75,000 in modified adjusted gross income for single filers and $150,000 for joint filers. That is real money. That is not a rumor. That is one of the biggest reasons seniors need to stop filing on autopilot, IRS. The second federal change is the higher standard deduction for 2026. The IRS says the standard deduction rises to $16,100 for single filers, $32,200 for married couples filing jointly, and $24,150 for heads of household. A lot of retirees miss this because they think their return is simple and nothing changes, but the number changed. And when the number changes, what you owe can change too, IRS. The third federal change is the tax bracket shift. The brackets move for 2026. That matters if you take money out of retirement accounts, sell investments, start a pension stream, or take part-time work in retirement. A withdrawal that felt small in your head can still push income into a higher band if you are not careful. The system loves when people guess. I want you to stop guessing. IRS. The fourth federal change is the IRA limit. The IRS says the 2026 IRA contribution limit is $7,500. with a catch-up contribution of $1,100. If you or your spouse still have earned income, even part-time, this matters. A lot of people think retirement means these rules no longer apply. That is not always true. One small move can cut taxable income and help protect more of what you earned. IRS. The fifth federal change is the 401k, 403b, and similar plan limit. The IRS says the 2026 elective deferral limit is $24,500, with a normal catch-up amount of $8,000 and a higher catch-up of $11,250 for certain workers ages 60 through 63 under the newer rules. Again, this only helps if you know it exists. If you do not ask, nobody runs into the room to rescue you. IRS. And here is the part that makes people mad once they see it. Most retirees are told to watch prices at the grocery store. Fine. But almost nobody tells them to watch the quiet line items in the tax code, the little boxes on forms, the extra deductions, the local exemptions, the filing windows, or the correction process when a bill was too high. That is where the system wins, not with one giant theft, with 1,000 small silences. So let me bring this down to earth. If you are over 65, there are 2 lanes you need to check right now. Lane 1 is your federal return. That is where the 2026 IRS changes live. Lane 2 is your home, your county, your tax bill, your local exemptions, and any freeze, homestead, senior, disability, widow, or income-based relief your area may offer. The second lane is the one people ignore because it feels local, slow, boring, and confusing. That is exactly why it can be so expensive to miss. Now, I am going to give you the simple 3-step move. No lawyer talk, no fancy words, just the move. Step 1 is the what. You ask for the senior exemption form. In some places, it is called a senior citizen exemption. In others, it is called a senior homestead exemption, an age 65 or older homestead exemption, a property tax freeze, or a senior property tax exemption. Do not get stuck on the name. The point is simple. You want the form that asks whether being over 65 lowers, freezes, or reduces what you pay on your primary home. If you need a real-world example, Texas says the form used for many homestead exemptions is Form 50-114, the Residence Homestead Exemption Application, and the state says people age 65 or older may qualify for an additional Residence Homestead Exemption. Cook County, Illinois, officially calls one version the Senior Citizen Exemption. Colorado officially calls it the Senior Property Tax Exemption, and says there are short and long forms through the county assessor. Different name, same idea. The point is not to memorize every state. The point is to know these programs are real, and they are usually not automatic, unless your local rules make them automatic after approval. Texas Comptroller, Cook County Assessor, Colorado Division of Property Taxation. Step 2 is the how. If you are online, type this exact search into Google, your county name senior property tax exemption over 65. Then search again with your county name homestead exemption senior. Then search one more time with your county name property tax freeze senior. If you hate computers, pick up last year's tax bill and call the phone number printed on it. That number goes to the people who want your payment. Good. Let them earn it. Ask them where the over 65 exemption page is, what the form is called, and what the deadline is. Do not let them rush you off the line with a lazy answer like, it should be on the website. Tell them to spell the form name. Tell them where it is on the site. Tell them to explain whether the exemption lowers value, lowers the tax, freezes an increase, or just changes one part of the bill. You are not being difficult. You are being awake. There is a difference. The system counts on polite confusion. It does not know what to do with clear questions. Step 3 is the script. These are the words I want you to say exactly. I am over 65. What am I exempt from? Say it slow. Say it plain. Then stop talking. Do not fill the silence. Do not apologize. Do not explain your whole life story. Do not say, I'm probably not eligible, but... No, just say the words and let them answer. I am over 65. What am I exempt from? That one sentence does something powerful. It shifts the job back where it belongs. Too many older people call government offices like they are begging for a favor. You are not begging. You are asking what the law already says. Those are 2 very different things. When you ask the right way, you force the office to move from collector mode to information mode. That is the switch you want. Now let me tell you what usually happens next. They may ask your age. Fine. They may ask if the home is your primary residence. Fine. They may ask if there is an income limit in your area. Fine. They may ask if you already have a homestead exemption. Fine. None of that is bad news. Questions mean you are now inside the process. That is where you want to be. Questions mean you are no longer invisible. Have a few papers ready. Keep it simple. Your ID, your last property tax bill. Proof the home is your primary residence. Sometimes proof of age, sometimes proof of income, sometimes proof of ownership. That is it. Not a mountain, just a folder. I want you to make that folder today, not someday. Someday is where money goes to disappear. And if you are thinking, I do not want to deal with forms, I hear you. Mary said the same thing. She hated paperwork. She hated waiting rooms. She hated hold music. But you know what she hated more? Realizing later that a 20-minute call might have saved her years of overpaying. Pain now or pain later. That is the choice, and later is always more expensive. There is another reason this matters in 2026. A lot of people over 65 are living on fixed income while bills do not stay fixed at all. Insurance goes up, utilities go up, food goes up, repairs show up out of nowhere. Then a tax bill lands in the mailbox like it owns the place. That is why every exemption matters, every deduction matters, every corrected bill matters, not because it is exciting, because it is survival. And let me say this for the sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, and neighbors listening. If the older person in your life is proud, private, tired, confused, or grieving, they may never make this call on their own. You may have to sit beside them. You may have to say, let's do it together right now. Do that. Please do that. A lot of money gets lost, not because seniors are careless, but because they do not want to bother anybody. Bother somebody. This is worth bothering somebody for. Now here comes the part that keeps most people watching to the end, the retroactive bonus. This is where the real sting shows up. In some places, if you should have had the exemption in an earlier year and it was missed, there may be a path to a refund, corrected bill, or back year fix. Not everywhere, not always, but often enough that you should ask every single time. Cook County's official assessor page says that if you were eligible for the exemption in a prior tax year but it was not on your bill, you can apply for a refund or corrected bill by filing for a certificate of error. Read that again. Refund or corrected bill. That is not a rumor from social media. That is an official government process. Cook County Assessor Texas says property owners usually must apply for exemptions with the local appraisal district, and it clearly states there are age 65 homestead exemptions and deadlines. Colorado says senior exemption applications go through the county assessor and stresses timely filing with a main deadline of July 15th and late filing through August 15th with fewer appeal rights. The exact rules are local. That is why your county matters. But the bigger lesson is this: the relief is real, and deadlines are real too. Texas Comptroller, Colorado Division of Property Taxation. So here is the refund question you ask right after the 7-word sentence. You say, if I should have had this before, can I file for a refund, corrected bill, certificate of error, or prior year adjustment? Use those words. Refund, corrected bill, certificate of error, prior year adjustment. Make them tell you yes or no. Make them tell you how many years back they allow. Make them tell you the deadline. Make them tell you the form name. This is where people lose the most money because they stop at do I qualify now and forget to ask, what about the years you already billed me? That second question is where the hidden money often lives. It is the difference between saving a little going forward and getting back what never should have left your pocket in the first place. Will every county say yes? No. Some places will say no refunds. Some will say only 1 year back. Some will say there is a correction process. Some will say the rule changed. Some will say there is a freeze instead of a straight exemption. Fine. Let them say it, but do not reject yourself before they answer. Self-rejection is free labor for the system. And please hear this next part. Do not assume because your friend in another state got one break that yours works the same way. Local rules change. Income limits change. School tax rules change. Filing dates change. Whether the relief is automatic or not can change. That is why the exact sentence matters so much. It keeps you from guessing. It keeps the burden where it belongs. I am over 65. What am I exempt from? If you are a renter, do not tune out. You may not have a property tax bill in your own name, but some states and cities have renter relief, utility aid, circuit breaker programs, senior housing credits, or rebate programs tied to age and income. The 7-word question still works. You just point it at the office that handles the local benefit. The bigger rule is this: older people should ask what age-based relief exists, not assume there is none. And let me come back to the IRS for a minute, because the local tax story is only half the danger. The federal side changed too. The new extra $6,000 senior deduction is one of those changes people can miss because they think the return is the same as last year. It is not. The bigger standard deduction is not the same as last year. The retirement contribution limits are not the same as last year. Filing on autopilot is how money leaks. IRS, IRS, IRS. The IRS also reminds seniors that Social Security is not always fully tax-free once other income enters the picture. And Publication 554 warns that up to 85% of benefits can become taxable in some cases, depending on total income. That is another reason to stop assuming and start checking. One bad guess can snowball across deductions, withdrawals, and taxes on benefits. IRS Publication 554. Here is what I want you to do when this video ends. First, write down the sentence. Second, pull out your last property tax bill if you own your home. Third, Search your county name plus senior property tax exemption. Fourth, ask if the exemption is active, what form applies, what the deadline is, and whether you can seek a refund or corrected bill for missed years. Fifth, review your federal filing for the 2026 changes if you or your preparer are working off old habits. This is not a weekend project. This is a today project. Do not wait for the next bill. Do not wait until tax season panic. Do not wait until you are tired. Do not wait until somebody dies, moves, gets sick, or loses paperwork. Do not wait because you think the amount is probably small. Small over 1 year becomes painful over 3. Painful over 3 becomes tragic over 10. That is how the system gets rich on quiet people. I know some people will hear this and say, if this were true, they would tell us. No, that is the fantasy. Big systems do not wake up every morning asking how to pay you more. They wake up asking how to process what comes in. Your job is to interrupt that machine with the right question. Your job is to make your file visible. Your job is to stop being easy to bill. I also know some people will say, I do not want to sound ignorant. Let me free you from that right now. Ignorance is not asking. Wisdom is asking before another dollar leaves your account. Pride is expensive. A simple phone call is cheap. Which one would you rather keep paying for? And if you already checked once years ago, check again. Laws change, amounts change, income changes, age thresholds get met, spouses pass away, ownership changes, disability status changes, county programs expand, federal deductions change. What was true when you were 62 may not be true at 65, 67, 70, or 75. The system does not call you back to let you know that today is the day you finally qualify. So let me tighten this up for you one last time. The IRS made real 2026 moves seniors need to know. There is a new extra deduction for many people 65 and older. The standard deduction is higher. Tax brackets shifted. IRA limits rose. 401k and catch-up limits changed. And outside the IRS, local offices still sit on age-based exemptions and refund paths many people never ask about. IRS, IRS, IRS. That is why this video matters. Not because it is dramatic, because it is practical, because every month you stay silent, somebody else keeps the advantage, because Mary did everything right and still paid more than she may have owed, because the bill in your mailbox is not a final moral truth. Sometimes it is just the first number they send until somebody pushes back. I want you to be that somebody. I want you to ask the ugly little question the system hopes never leaves your mouth. I want you to get the form. I want you to check the deadline. I want you to ask about the back years. I want you to stop assuming that a bill is accurate just because it arrived in an official envelope. And when you make that call, when you open that site, when the person on the other end finally asks, how can I help you? I want the answer to be simple, calm, and direct. I am over 65. What am I exempt from? I am over 65. What am I exempt from? I am over 65. What am I exempt from?